The Dragon Balls. The series itself is named after these ultimate MacGuffins, and we've talked about these balls before, but how do these 7 magic spheres relate to their true origins in Eastern folklore? All that and more next. Just arrived in the Geekdom 101 store is the Supersonic X Super Goku merch line. Celebrate Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Dragon Ball Super Superhero as the two great heroes, Goku and Sonic, face off in a legendary battle. You can get this in any kind of color you want. There's multiple colors here as well as multiple sizes, and it ships all over the world. And if you don't want a shirt, they also have different styles. Like they have hoodies. You can also get clocks, all kinds of different things, but it's available right now in the Geekdom 101 store. The link will be down below in the description. Do not wait, because it'll only be around for a limited time. Pick yours up today. Welcome to another edition of Dragon Ball X Saiyuki, the series where we go and we talk about Dragon Ball's influence from Journey to the West, the original story that Toriyama was basing Dragon Ball off of. Obviously, as the series progressed, he went in different directions, but a lot of it still ties back to the original Eastern story that's centuries and centuries old. So I am, of course, as always, joined by Jordan the Dragon Lee. And today we're going to talk about the Dragon Balls and one of the places where Toriyama got the idea from and the hidden truth behind the Dragon Balls when you really dig deep into the roots of where this whole concept came from. Obviously, wish-granting, artifacts have been around since Arabian Nights and things like that. It's been told over and over again, but it's a little bit different with Saiyuki because it has more to do with an actual path of life than just granting wishes. So Jordan, tell us about these scrolls that inspired the Dragon Balls.
Well, the end goal of the journey in Dragon Ball, of course, is to discover the Dragon Balls and get a wish, right? The end goal of the journey to the West was to attain what's known as the Buddha Sutras, which was supposed to be used by Tripitaka to bring enlightenment to the world. When he started the journey to the West, that was actually his concern as to whether or not everyone on Earth could experience enlightenment. And so making this journey, it fed into that goal. He thought that if he could make the journey to the West, he could bring enlightenment to the world. And what's really interesting about that is every time Goku uses the Dragon Balls, it seems like the world becomes a little bit more of a brighter and happier place. So Toriyama, he really plays on that with the Dragon Balls in multiple ways. But another way that he plays on it is the Journey to the West and the Buddha Sutras. It's all kind of a trick in a sense, because it turns out that the journey itself was creating the Buddha Sutras. The camaraderie that Sun Wukong, Pigsley, and Sandy and Tripitaka, because Pigsley and Sandy, they're a couple more demons who are pretty nasty like Wukong. And
they would be compared to Oolong and Bulma, right?
Actually, Sandy is Yamcha.
Yamcha. That's right. The Desert Bandit. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were both pretty nasty dudes before they went on the Journey to the West, just like Sun Wukong. But as the journey progressed, they all started to learn to care about each other, and they all started learning to respect their master. And as they go on the journey, they actually start learning the principles of Buddhism. And so Tripitaka causes all of these demons to become better people. He causes them all to become Buddhas themselves and find enlightenment. And that's what Goku does with his friends along the journey to find the Dragon Balls. Everyone grows a little bit. Everyone becomes a little less selfish,
And just to add some context for those who might not remember, when Toriyama was first writing Dragon Ball, when he first started the series back in '84, he didn't have any intentions for it to be as big as it was. There's been a lot of different videos that I've put out debunking Dragon Ball's supposed to end with the Frieza saga, the Cell saga, and none of that's true. However, Dragon Ball was initially supposed to be just the first arc. What we know now as the Pilaf arc, or the Hunt for the Dragon Balls arc, the first 13 or so episodes of Dragon Ball, that is all Toriyama intended to tell. And that, in a way, mirrors the Journey to the West. It's when you go past that we start getting into Toriyama going his own way, which was inspired by his editor Torishima, who told him, dude, put more martial arts tournaments. People love those. And then that's when the series began to gain popularity, and Toriyama started to really fall in love with these characters and write new stories. But originally, Toriyama only intended this thing to be a few chapters, and that was it, because he loved Sayuki. He loved Journey to the West. And so you have to look at it from that perspective, in that when you watch the Pilaf arc, they summon the dragon at the end of the arc, and that's sort of the end of the story, so to speak. The story continues, of course, but that would have been the place that Toriyama would have ended it had he not chosen to keep going.
Yeah. Another really great example of this enlightenment effect is Krillin. Krillin is actually one of the best examples, and he actually talks about how Goku, he talks about in the Cell Saga and the Android Saga about how a lot of the people who used to be Goku's enemies are now his friends, and he's technically the first one that ever went through it. But his journey from selfishness to selflessness is one of the most iconic in Dragon Ball, because when he first shows up on Master Roshi's doorstep, he wants to learn martial arts to get women. And by the time he is put in the situation to use the Dragon Ball selflessly, he does so. And that lands him his dream wife.
Woman. Right, yeah, because people have to remember, one of the things that led to 18 and Krillin getting together is the fact that he made a very selfless wish by wishing for her and 17 to not have the self-destruction mechanism inside of their body. And that was a wish that he didn't have to make, that nobody forced him to do it. He did it out of the kindness of his heart, not even knowing he was going to get with her, and it wound up working out for him. So the minute that you just do something for the right reasons, you get rewarded, sort of like by the gods, and that's karma, which is karma. A big thing to talk about here. Yeah,
so the selflessness aspect and the selfishness aspect is huge, especially in the current arc of Dragon Ball. But and they've expanded on this a lot more lately. Whenever Monaito and Granola have a conversation about the Dragon Balls, he talks about how they were originally a part of a ritual to celebrate brave Namekian warriors, and that they're not meant to fulfill any old selfish wish. And then also we get this scene on Namek where one of the Namekian elders is talking about how originally the wishes were meant as a reward for bold warriors who sought out the Dragon Balls in times of great suffering. And to me,
which is told Journey to the West, bro.
Yeah, that seems like it's baiting for a selfless Namek warrior to make a selfish wish to restore his own planet. So essentially, and the Elder Kai, when he talks about how the Dragon Balls can throw the universe into disorder, he talks about how the Nameks were the only ones allowed to use the Dragon Balls because under controlled conditions that never would have happened. The world never would have been thrown into chaos. And that's because the Nameks were actually using the Dragon Balls the correct way, because a lot of them were selfless by nature. And they would only use the Dragon Balls to restore their planet over and over again whenever things would get rough, which sounds an awful lot like how Goku uses the Dragon Balls. And they actually play on this in GT a lot. In GT, you know, the evil karma builds up within the Dragon Balls. That's not a thing in Super.
Yeah, the negative energy that made the evil dragons is basically karma for the selfish wishes. Now, not all the wishes were necessarily selfish in a bad way. Some were to resurrect friends and things like that, but it's still something to where it disrupts nature. Well, and there is a warning. There's a warning of that, because the Elder Kai talks about this in the Buu arc, how the way that you rely on these balls is disrupting the natural balance of things.
And it does, but the way the Dragon Balls are set up, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if it's Shenron's Dragon Balls or the Super Dragon Balls. The Dragon Balls may seem all powerful, but they are still bound to the laws of karma. And that's why anytime you see somebody make a selfish wish, they pay for it in Dragon Ball. We see that with
one way or another.
Yeah, we see that with King Piccolo. We see that with Zamasu. You know, there's quite a few examples. We see that with Moro even. You know,
I mean, my favorite is, even though it's a movie and people are going to say, well, it's not canon, doesn't matter. The story's there. Garlic Jr., he wishes to be an immortal and ends up being trapped in the dead zone for eternity. So he's got an immortal body, but he can never die and move on. So that's one of the biggest examples of bad karma right there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to Sun Wukong. He broke into heaven and he stole the pills of immortality, the elixir of immortality, the peaches of immortality, and he became like immortal times 20. And when Heaven tried to kill him, they couldn't. So they went to Buddha and they were like, you're going to have to trap this guy. You know what I mean? So that's literally exactly what happened to him, which is why, the Lord Slug movie is a little bit more creative than people give it credit for. But
yeah, but it's the Piccolo arc basically done over again. But you're right. It's the same idea, same principle.
But one thing I'd like to highlight is how just basically the last wish that we've gotten and how it's kind of interesting in terms of the idea of selfishness and selflessness. To me, it really seems like Bardock's wish. Now, a lot of people are concerned that, Goku has been sent down this path where he's got like this cosmic plot armor due to the Dragon Balls. But like I just said, the Dragon Balls are not above the laws of karma. All the Dragon Balls really did for Goku and Raditz, if you look within the laws of like how the Dragon Balls work, is just take the good karma from the wish that Bardock made and applied it to Goku. So like Grandpa Gohan is still a character who is very, very necessary at setting Goku down the right path.
The right path, yeah.
To benefit from having good karma, And
Raditz was influenced, of course, by Nappa, Vegeta, and Frieza, and that's why he's kind of a dick.
Well, yeah, and I think the reason for that is, it's just like we were just discussing. All the villains have eventually been killed, right? Because of a selfish wish. Well,
including Raditz.
When Bardock wished for his sons to grow up strong, that was a selfless wish, and that actually sounds a lot like what Goku wishes for everybody that he comes into contact with, which is part of the reason that I thought that was kind of cool. But he did it so he could stay and fight Gas. So there's a hint of selfishness there. Not only that, but he did it because he had the pride of the Saiyan. He wanted to stay and fight and win a fight to the death.
There's layers there.
Yeah, and when Raditz found Goku, he was upset that Goku didn't have the pride of the Saiyans. So being above karma is Sun Wukong's whole thing. Him being an instinctual creature who's pure of heart, that's the entire reason that he becomes a Buddha, because by his very nature, he creates nothing but good karma for himself, and so he kind of hacks the universe in a sense. So it makes sense to me that that's kind of what Goku does. That's the reason that Goku accidentally uses the Dragon Balls the correct way all the time, because of the way that Grandpa Gohan raised him and influenced him. And Raditz and Goku meeting, if you really think about it, Raditz, one of the things that I like about Raditz's character, which is kind of underrated, is that his intentions were to change Goku to be a worse person, which is like
to be like him,
which is like a polar opposite of Goku. Goku tries to make people better people, and it's almost as if those two coming into contact each other was the opportunity for each one to either mess up or redeem themselves.
Yeah, it was basically the universe putting them into play, setting a course, a series of events, and what ends up happening is neither thing happens. Raditz stays evil, Goku stays good. They both die, but Goku's the one that gets wished back. Why? Because throughout the entirety of Dragon Ball, prior to that event, he had made friends. If Goku had never made those friends, Bulma, Master Roshi, Puar, Yamcha, Krillin, he would have never been brought back to life. And that's a really important point when looking at the Saiyan saga, which is why I tell people you cannot start with Z. You have to watch Dragon Ball and then watch Z at some point so you get the full context of the events that happened before Raditz showed up, which are very important.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, I would just like to highlight the importance of decisions within the last chapter of Dragon Ball Super and within the use of the Dragon Ball itself. Your decisions are just as important to determine your fate as anything else. And Goku's decisions to do everything that he's done within his lifetime may be the result of being influenced by Grandpa Gohan. But, your decisions are what determine your fate. And the Dragon Balls may have put Goku in a situation to thrive as a human being through good karma, but he had to maintain that nature. He's been put in situations time and time again to be tempted to go the other way. Goku, he might have gotten some help along the way, but the Dragon Balls are not above the laws of karma. And if you truly want to thrive in life, you have to be a good person and do good with all your heart. And that's really the overall message that Dragon Ball is trying to portray.
Right. So everybody follow that message. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. Check out Jordan the Dragon Lee, and we'll talk to y'all next time.